Well, as we know, the clock is ticking for the remaining hostages to finally be released, but there is still much that needs to be sorted out, as this is just phase one of this deal. As we take a look there at the hostages who remain, I'd like to welcome in senior fellow at Defense Priorities and host of Daniel Davis Deep Dive on YouTube, retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis. Lieutenant Colonel, great to see you. This is a day that so many people hoped would finally come. So this 72-hour period has begun. Hamas now has 3 days to free all of the hostages and eventually give up power. From your perspective, what pieces still need to fall into place?
Well, I mean, there's so many that have to fall into place because right now there's just a euphoria that the bombs have stopped falling, and that's obviously a lot of reason for celebration on the Palestinian side, and at the Israeli side, there's been these protests for well over a year, routine on the Israeli side to demand that the government do whatever it can to bring the hostages back, and now then that is going to finally be satisfied. It's even those of the deceased, and are going to get some kind of closure. So there'll be a lot of celebration on both sides. Both sides are glad that the war is over. What we can just hope is that momentum that the people want on all sides of this is enough to have political effect on the leadership to make it stay that way. And that's where the devil's going to be in the details. And I just was a little bit concerned that the phase two, they saw this as a two-phased operation, but they just acknowledged right from the beginning that phase two hadn't even been negotiated yet, which means there's tons of landmines, diplomatic landmines there that could derail this. Benjamin Netanyahu is not shied away from saying if it doesn't work out, he'll do it either the easy way or the hard way, meaning he can go back to military operations. But what I really hope is that from the Arab side especially, and the Arab countries and the regime, that they'll put enough pressure on the Hamas leadership to finally just say, you can't possibly achieve anything more, do the right thing for your people, and just concede to all of the issues that are required here in terms of giving up and having this amnesty that the Trump plan holds for, because they gave them an out, so they should have a chance to take it. So I have a little bit more hope that this one continues on than I have in the past, not the least of which is because international pressure on Israel is now greater than at any time really in the last 4 or 5 decades. And so that all together with these other things may be enough to get us past this, but it remains to be seen. There's a lot of difficulties ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So yesterday, Lieutenant Colonel, I spoke with the father of a Thai hen who is holding out hope that his son is still alive, his son, the youngest U.S. hostage taken. Let's listen to what he said.
Ty could have been in college, but he decided to join the IDF, and he was protecting the ceasefire. We come from Holocaust family survivors. We understand the meaning of a Jewish state that protects the Jewish people. And, he and his team got ambushed. He was taken. And ever since, Hamas have not given any type of acknowledgement, what his physical status is. And even if the basic fact, if he is even in their possession. And that is the lowest type of psychological warfare that any terrorist organization can inflict. And it's gone on for too long. And hopefully we see the end.
All right, so Lieutenant Colonel, do you think this first phase will unfold as planned?
I really think there's a good chance that it will. I mean, even the first phases of the previous 2 ceasefires that we had during this war, they were successful. It was the subsequent phases where things went awry, and that's why I say I hope that doesn't happen here. But I think the conditions may be different here. I just think that the cost of this war to everybody, to include Israel, obviously the Palestinians most of all, but even the United States and the money that's been allocated, the weapons and ammunition, the strikes into Iran, the potential for expansion. Everybody has a lot of incentive for this one to work. So I really hope that those pressures all together can cause this to get success into phase 2 and then to full end of the war. That's certainly what I hope.
All right. So we know that President Trump has said Gaza will be rebuilt, that when it is, no one will be forced to leave. But we also know 90% of homes in Gaza have been destroyed. So what do next steps look like for rebuilding, as well as for the aid that is set to go into Gaza?
Yeah, the aid is the most important part and the most urgent part, because the plan is that up to 400 trucks will go in within the first 24 hours. So hopefully that's being coordinated right now, because that is the most urgent need, because, there's a state of famine in some parts of the strip. There is severe malnutrition virtually throughout the whole thing. So that needs to be done to alleviate that immediately. Then it's going to be ramped up to 600 trucks per day, which is the enough to actually sustain the population without putting them into danger of starvation or malnutrition. So hopefully that comes across as it's supposed to. There certainly is those 8 trucks that are waiting and ready to go in, and they can start that immediately. The rest of it, though, is going to be a lot more challenging, and it remains to be seen how those things are negotiated. But that is the first and foremost thing that needs to happen, so that the death and the dying can finally stop.
Absolutely. And we know that President Trump says he is heading to the region for an official signing this weekend. What do you expect to take place? And possibly, more importantly, what role do you foresee American troops playing in the coming months?
As I understand from somebody who has connections deep inside the Pentagon, this is not anything that's going to be in the Gaza Strip. In fact, apparently the rules are that no American forces will be inside the Strip, but they will be helping at coordination centers at various points within Israel, doing administrative things. So at least so far, that is the plan for the U.S. troops. But for the rest of it, everything depends on what happens, because when Trump is going to go there, of course, his primary objective, I think, is to celebrate the release of the hostages with the hostage families. I know he wants to participate in that. And look, he deserves a lot of credit for this, because the previous administration did nothing. And we now have some recent information that shows that they didn't put any pressure on the Israeli side. The president administration did, along with a lot of external pressure, et cetera. And that seems to be what made the difference here. So I think he deserves some credit.
All right. Well, speaking of that, we know that the president has been campaigning for the Nobel Peace Prize. I'd like to play part of what he said just yesterday in the Oval Office.
I've stopped 8 wars, so that's never happened before. But they'll have to do what they do. Whatever they do is fine. I know this. I didn't do it for that. I did it because I saved a lot of lives.
All right. So we know he didn't get it this time, but do you think he could possibly next year, particularly if this historic peace plan is successful?
If it's successful, I think he has to be in the conversation. And I just thought it was a little bit interesting that President Zelensky today said, by the way, if you'll give us some Tomahawk missiles, I'll nominate you for the peace conference for the next year. So he didn't waste any time to get on board that train. But listen, if this holds, then yeah, I think it's very much should be something that he gets considered for.
Well, Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, great speaking with you. I'm sure I will be speaking with you again in the coming days. Thank you for your time.
Look forward to it. Thank you.